Man, I really didn't want to do this video. I promise you I didn't want to do this video. Tony Harrison's one of my favorite fighters in the sport, period. But I gotta do it. By the way, it's your boy G5 Jeff TV, aka G5, aka 5, aka the Guru. This past Saturday, we watched Tim Tszyu get a ninth round stoppage over Tony Harrison. And let me get this out of the way. Tim Tszyu has officially announced himself at 154 pounds, and he's proven that he deserves an opportunity at Jermell Charlo. He was supposed to get that opportunity in January, but because of injury, they had to push it back. The fact that Tim Tszyu took on Tony Harrison, credit to him. Like, that's some stand-up shit. And he came through, ninth round stoppage, had a home game, and looked good. Looked good. Did what he had to do. Looked good. But we got to get into Tony Harrison. We have to get into Tony Harrison. Going into the fight, I felt like Tony Harrison had a pretty good shot at winning this fight. And I talked about this with BoxingFirstVlog. Big shout out to Vlog. And we talked about how if Tony Harrison kept his offense simple, 2-3 punch combinations, stay defensively responsible, and when he get on the inside, pick and choose his spots to dig to the body, he would have a pretty good shot at outboxing Tim Tszyu. And so Tony Harrison has 4 losses in his career, and y'all know how boxing goes. It's not about how many wins you have. It's you get defined by how many losses you have. That's what gets talked about the most. You can have 100 wins and 4 losses. They'll talk about the 4 losses over your 100 wins. That's just how boxing goes. It's unfair, but it is what it is. The issue with Tony Harrison, and this is why we have to ask, should he retire? Should he change his goals? Should he accept the fact that he might be looked at as a gatekeeper going forward at 154 pounds? The reason why he has to ask these questions is because out of all 4 of his losses, all 4 of them have come the exact same way. Late in fights, TKOs. Happened with Tim Tszyu, happened with Jermell Charlo, happened with Jarrett Hurd, and it happened with Willie Nelson. Bottom line with Tony Harrison is this: if he can get through a fight without getting knocked down or knocked out, there's probably not one person at 154 that can outbox him. He's that talented as a boxer, but he's taking these losses the same way. Guys are dragging him into deep waters and they're drowning him. So if you're Tony Harrison, what do you do? Because with this loss, now you're kind of on the downside in a division. It's not really hot. Like it's not 154, not ice cold, but it's not fish grease hot neither. Like, it's pretty much Jermell Charlo, now Tim Tszyu, and then it's everyone else. It's everyone else. Like, it's just a whole lot of guys that are like B to C type fighters at 154 pounds. So I don't know how you guys feel about it, but Tony Harrison is in a really, really rough spot. He's in a really, really rough spot. And they're the worst type losses to take. If you get knocked out early, you get caught with a shot early, you can come back from that. But the ones where you're late in fights and you can even be competitive, but when you take that late knockout loss, it does something to you physically, mentally, emotionally. Like, it's just a harder loss to get over. So if you're Tony Harrison, what do you do? Like, what do you do? We've seen him work corners before. We see him in a corner with Alicia Baumgardner, and he looks like he does a good job training. I know he has a gym, in his hometown. I know he does a lot of community work and things like that. So if you're Tony Harrison, do you just retire as a boxer and just focus on other aspects of boxing, being a trainer, maybe getting into managing or something like that. You know, just because you retire as a boxer don't mean you can't take on other jobs within the sport. Or do you just chalk it up as a bad night? Tim Tszyu was a better fighter, and you try to find an opponent that best fits where you're at right now. So if Tony's thinking like that, I'm thinking, let me see if I can get one of these 147 pounders, you know, come up to 154. They thinking it's sweet. And, I'm going to stomp them out. So, for example, like a Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia, if he's going to dip his toes in the water at 154 pounds, which he's already done one time, but like really, really get his foot in there, Tony Harrison would be the perfect opponent. Because if he beats Tony Harrison, then he's in the top half of the 154-pound division. I would feel comfortable putting Danny in with certain guys if I knew he could beat Tony Harrison. But then at the same time, if Tony Harrison beats a Danny Garcia, then he's proven multiple things. Number one, he's not washed. That's number one. Number two, regardless of what you think of Danny Garcia, is a quality opponent, is a good name. Is a good name. I think that's where Tony Harrison needs to look. One of these 147 pounders trying to come up, trying to test the waters. If it's a Danny Garcia, I know they're talking about Keith Thurman and Earl Spence, but possibly a Keith Thurman coming up to 154 pounds. To be honest with you, Earl Spence coming up to 154 pounds. I think that's the angle that Tony Harrison needs to go, because right now, the one thing Tony Harrison can't afford right now, if he doesn't retire, is to lose bad to a guy that doesn't have a name, or a guy that's on the come up, a young dude that's on the come up. He can't afford that type of loss. He cannot afford that type of loss, because then he will be truly in gatekeeper status. And I hate talking about this with Tony Harrison. When I say Tony Harrison is so gifted in terms of just pure boxing ability, man, like he is truly gifted. But at the end of the day, sometimes in boxing, you can take out the jab, the hook, the defense, the strategy, and sometimes it really just comes down to this one question. What is a fighter going to do when they get hit with a shot? And too many times we've seen Tony Harrison get hit with that shot, and the recovery is not there, and he ends up getting stopped late. So I wouldn't be surprised by anything at this point. If he decides to retire, wouldn't be surprised. If he says it was a bad night and he going to, get right back in there, wouldn't be surprised. But the one thing that I will suggest to one of my favorite fighters in Tony Harrison, matchmaking is very, very, very important. You at a point in your career where you can't just jump in there with just anybody. Got to strategize, got to be the right situation. I'm pretty sure Al will put you in the right situation, but it has to be the right situation. Get one of these 147 pounders trying to come up. I think that'll be the best shot for you to not only get a win, but keep the name relevant as well. Because whoever comes up for 147, the 154, probably going to have a name. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. It's your boy G5 Jeff TV. I know I've been out of it for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Just a lot of different like personal issues and things like that. I'm just trying to get straightened out, man. And the name of the game come down to boxing channels is consistency. And that's just something that I haven't been able to do. But I'm gonna try to get back at it with more videos like this. And talk that talk like only G5 can. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section, man. It's 5. I'm out.